Testing. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yep. Spike Lee's Unfiltered. Hi. Hope you all are having a great weekend. I try to create a video every Saturday, Sunday. So thank you for those who are available to join today. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Let me know where you guys are all based out of right now. Yeah, just put it in the chat. Any questions you have, we'll go for about, an hour, no more than that. But how's everyone doing, by the way? Where are you all from? Put it in the chat. Okay, so it looks like Benjamin, we have a question here. So Benjamin Velarde, so LA. Nice, man. I used to live in Irvine for a bit. Now I'm out here in the Bay Area. Wisconsin, very cool. Yeah, so I'm in the Bay Area, up in Northern California. Baldies, wow, Columbus, Ohio. That's great. So it's like 8:55 over there. Wisconsin, it's getting late. Well, thank you guys. That's cool. Where else is everyone from? Okay, so then, if you have any questions, I would really appreciate you putting a Q in the front, just like how I put in the chat here, and then you can just ask your question, and I'd love to answer your question. So Benjamin, how do shorts work? I know CleanSpark has nearly 1 billion shares short. I'm thinking a short squeeze is coming. So, it's basically a trader's market, right? You have a market for buying and selling, and if you have that bear perspective, you could always short company. I mean, I've personally never done that because I'm more of a investor where if I believe in a company, I'll buy shares of that company. So I really don't play that the opposite side. So I don't have all the details, but what I know is the way that short squeeze works is, especially with any catalyst news, it could really drive up the stock price, and then shorts will have to cover. They're basically hedging against the price where they take like a margin and basically the share of the price. Their goal is to have it be at a lower value. And let's say if the price is to run up, they'll have to cover their short position and then start buying shares. So with shorts, you basically have to cover at one point. If the share price goes up, to cover your loss, you have to buy shares. So I think in CleanSpark's case, because we've just seen so much of a beatdown in the year 2025, we'll cover all those details as well. So I'll cover all of that. But let me know what your comments are in the chat. I'd love to answer all of that. Okay, so we have Max here joining from New York. That's really cool. So we have Spike Lee's from Wisconsin, Baldy's from Columbus. We have questions here. I'll definitely go through the questions. But Tony B from Ontario, Canada, would love to visit Canada one day. Never been out there, but very cool. Yep, let me know what your comments are. Tricky Parth, all right, very cool. I mean, I noticed, you commenting, asking questions and all that, and it's great that you're on this chat here. Let me know where you're from, Tricky. Oh, you're from Canada, Ontario. Okay, got it. And we have Joe here joining from Virginia, Maxi from Munich. Thank you, guys. Looks like we have quite a few folks here. And Telly joining from St. Louis. That's really cool. It's Germany as well. So, thank you all. I appreciate you all joining. You know, Today's actually my birthday as well, so got to, you know, uh, take this opportunity to do this live stream, enjoy what I do, and spend time, just researching and sharing back. But let's get started, guys. I mean, thank you, Maxie. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tony. Yep, I'm getting older. Having the white hair growing here, but definitely, great. Thank you, Sarasota. Appreciate that, George Fitting. Really appreciate all the kind wishes here. Benjamin, I'm 2 years older than you, so you can guess, what my age is. Yeah, thank you, Maxie. I appreciate the comment here. Oh, and Spike Lee's welcome to collab with All I See Is W. That's very cool. I'm not sure what that. Oh, wow, that's very cool. Thank you, Spike Lee's, for joining the collab. That's really cool. All right. So, in case I, didn't go through all of the questions, thank you for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. You know, we saw what we saw last week, right? And I think a lot of what we saw, there's a change in the perspective. We saw 2024, while Bitcoin price started going up, a lot of what happened was like what's going on with the miners? What's going on with MicroStrategy like dominating, and what's going on with the end of the year MicroStrategy going down? But I think overall, I think we're beginning to see a shift in all of this here. And Spike Lee's Unfiltered, happy birthday, buddy, fellow Aquarius Unite. Mine was the 7th. Well, happy belated birthday to you, Spike Lee's. I really appreciate you here and joining the member collab here. That's really cool. So let me see what the questions are here. Okay, so we'll definitely cover, details on CleanSpark earnings, all of that. I'm gonna just, go through some of the things that I have in play, and please leave your questions, and I'll definitely make sure to cover all of the questions that you all have. So look, we have Bitcoin going back up here. Texas Senate considers establishing a strategic state reserve. I'm beginning to forget how many states there are that are trying to get into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think Utah is like ahead of the game. It's like a race right now between like Utah and Arizona. But I do think that we're seeing such a demand shift. Countries want to get involved. Even like Czech Republic, they announced that it'll be non-taxable if you hold on to Bitcoin for over 3 years. So I think all of that's really going to change the dynamics. And here, just with this visual by Freedom by 40 on X, this is his drawing here. If you look here, 2025, just based on April timeframe alone, he's forecasting it to break through that 150 plus upside. So can you imagine how much these prices are going to go up when it comes to these stocks? I think we have definitely room to grow here. Thank you for joining, Jared Manhattan. I appreciate it. Tony B, David joining. Leave all your questions down. I'll definitely cover it. I'm just going to go through, some updates here. We'll definitely cover IREN as well. I do have that on the list. We're going to go through all of that in detail. Just with Plan B here, I just wanted to highlight, just to read this out. Previous bull markets, had multiple months with RSI of 80 plus. That's represented in these red dots alone here. In my opinion, we will see at least 3 red dots, RSI 80 plus in 2025 bull market. Historically, monthly return in red dots. We're going to see that 270K upside. So I think we're not out of the woods yet. There's going to be a lot of room to grow here. I mean, this is huge sentiment, looking very good. Now, let's talk about CleanSpark's earnings call takeaways here. So I'm gonna go through this, and then we'll cover the first question in the chat here. But overall, I mean, it was a great earnings report. I listened in throughout. What I took away from that was that it was a very bullish earnings report. I'm just going to read through some comments here on Reddit. CleanSpark takeaways: indirect expenses expected to be flat, meaning depreciation and compensation will be constant. That's also known as more dollars to shareholders as they ramp up their exahash. Path to 50 exahash fully funded with closure of ATM program. This means much less sell pressure. Expansion is the advantage. CleanSpark supports untapped energy assets in rural America, flexibility to build off builds, relationships with communities. Current strategy will be to expand outside of Georgia to reduce concentration risk from weather changes. So now expanding not only in Georgia, but to Wyoming and Tennessee as well. All mining facilities and rigs are owned entirely by CleanSpark. CleanSpark market share and revenue grow as competitors FOMO into HPC AI. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think pure miner play is really, going to be, valuable for, a pure miner play like CleanSpark? What about companies like IREN? You have Hut, BitDeer. You also have, Riot potentially positioning into HPC AI. Let me know what your thoughts are with that direction. I mean, we hear a lot about Stargate coming on board, $500 billion investment from like SoftBank, bringing together all of the titans from the United States to really drive innovation in HPC AI. Even with like Cypher getting that $50 million deal with SoftBank, their share price ramped up as well. But just with Gary here, he said that they are open to the idea of returning capital to shareholders via additional share buybacks in the future. So one of the good things about the announcement was that, for investors who really don't like to see their shares be diluted, this really proves that they have cash in their, in their balance sheet to really use those funds. For example, the convertible note, $650 million. They're going to use that to ramp up their hash rate, improve efficiency. So I think in a year and a half, we're not going to hear anything about dilution. One of the big anomalies I saw was like, okay, while their 2.8 assets show on their balance sheet, their overall market cap is at 2.9 billion, including liquidity from their HODL as well as cash. So that's a big indicator that CleanSpark is significantly undervalued. And I'm not saying that CleanSpark is the only undervalued company. I do think that they have potential, just like with other miners who have been significantly underperforming. But overall margins increase per kilowatt and cost per Bitcoin is down. I really like the quote, why buy Bitcoin when you can, mine Bitcoin at 34,000 with their joules per terahash, now down to about 16, which is like one away from like IREN. So I think based on this comment, the best beta play on Bitcoin will likely be CleanSpark. When it goes up, it might go up quick, not financial advice. So there you have it. I hope that that was a clear takeaway on what happened with CleanSpark here. So I'm just going to go through the questions here. So, the first question that I see is, Mara looks very short-term bearish, but long-term bullish to me. Yes, I agree, Tricky. I do think that overall, Mara right now, especially with where we see Mara, I think key takeaway here is, you have BlackRock, I'm forgetting who's all invested, but look at the institutional ownership of Mara here. I think institutions, they love big time companies like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark. You see here in 2024, exponential increase with the amount of shares here. I really do think that Mara has a huge breakout potential. We did see the power in Mara when it was, at that lower point when most, miners were significantly underperforming around that September range. $13 here. I mean, even Riot was like at $6, but Mara was like more than double the price. But you saw the power of it running up to $30. I definitely do think current price $16 is a steal. It's definitely undervalued. We're gonna see that V shape up. I do see that 100% gain, easy gain in Q1 alone. Most people are like turned off by investing in like Mara, but now is the time to buy. And again, this isn't financial advice. I hope that you always do your investment. So I hope that answers your question. They're tricky, but or overall, just comment. Next question here is, so Spike Lee's Unfiltered. Do you like Bitcoin Cash too? Do you think it's worthy investment? So Bitcoin Cash. So are you referring to Bitcoin Cash? I don't know what the price is for Bitcoin Cash right now, but I do think that Bitcoin overall as a commodity, definitely it's going to go up. As Bitcoin goes up to 150K, I do think that Bitcoin Cash will run up. There may be more volatility around Bitcoin Cash, but I do think that Bitcoin Cash may even very well outperform, just the overall commodity Bitcoin. But those are heavily correlated between the two. So Joe commenting here, CleanSpark definitely. So what all do you have in your portfolio? So I would say, I'm not going to tell you my allocations and all that, but overall I have MSTR, I have, Mara, CleanSpark, Riot, I have IREN, all of that. So, similar to what everyone has here in the chat, I would think. Baldy's World, do you see a Mara short squeeze in before earnings? So Baldy's, I definitely do think there's going to be a short squeeze coming. Just Bitcoin, it's been just flirting below the 100K, but I do think that these miners, they've been just underperforming for so long. I do think that we're going to see that, that run up, not only in CleanSpark, but I do think that Mara, Riot, IREN, they're going to have that short squeeze, in this quarter alone. So Max, thank you for joining. I have been holding Riot for more than a year, but I'm getting tired of it. So Max, I'm with you. I feel you on that. And thank you everyone for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. But Max, just be patient. I would remain patient. I do think that Riot also has potential as well. We also heard about that speculation of CoreWeave's actually potentially, buying out Riot, and we saw that that potential run up. But that's all speculation. But I do think that we're going to hear some announcement coming up in the coming months. So it would suck to move around and then you see like that big run up of 40% within a day. Yeah, thank you guys for the birthday wishes. I appreciate you all joining here. Okay, so just going through questions here. Let's talk about CleanSpark earnings. Okay, so Tony B, I hope Bitfarm has bottom. A lot of good news for Bitfarm should it's up from here. Definitely, I do agree. I mean, so undervalued. So I do think that, all of these miners, it's hard to tell who's going to be the winner. We look at fundamentals. We think, okay, well, I mean, if you have the best KPIs, these are going to be the best stocks. But overall, I think, whenever stocks have a beatdown, that's when it goes back up. That's the bottom line. Let's read through this comment here. So I'll cover more questions. So please leave your questions in the chat. As I'm going through all the questions. I'll go through updates that I want to share with you all. But please leave your comments, questions, or requests in the chat here. So one of the interesting things about CleanSpark is that CLSK, they have contracts with vendors too. So for their newest S21 Pro miner, so CLSK, you can think of them as like being able to go into Costco and buy things in bulk, but then they have like the most premium account where they can buy at the advantage of getting like a 30% off the market rate. So here, just going to read, their strengths are consistency, efficiency, flexibility, and negotiations. They're also working on building a strategic team to utilize their 10,000 Bitcoins with the upcoming America First pro-Bitcoin political climate. So I think one of the things I also learned was that, they're not alluding towards, getting into HPC AI or anything like that. I think that their goal is to focus on scaling up their operations and repeating their blueprint that has demonstrated to work. in Tennessee, Wyoming, and continue to add value to shareholders. So I think that's what their overall goal is. So let's take a look here. Just another update here. So CLSK has 3 billion market cap. They have Bitcoin worth 1 billion on their balance sheet. They have other assets worth 1.8 billion on their balance sheet. They're expected to earn 872 million for 2025 and 1.2 billion for 2026 in revenue. Their total assets 2.8 billion and are expected to bring in further 2.1 billion in revenue over the next 23 months, and it's only valued at 3 billion today. What does that say? Share price is likely to go up from my perspective. So here, Cindy on X here, she also posted, just overall based on miners here, you see, I don't know how accurate this is, but it's an interesting key takeaway here just based on gross margin. And you see here, CleanSpark ahead of the game here when it comes to gross margin. You see IREN on the far tailwind here, cores as well, BitDeer. Interesting thing is you have like Riot and Mara and Can in the negative here, but I don't know how accurate all of this is here, but interesting to see that perspective. Here's another posting here. Best pure miner play with CleanSpark has reached escape velocity, best management and execution. And I do think that what we saw in the earnings report, that's definitely something that they can say because of how they've executed on their hash rate. But I think along with all the other miners as well, like Riot, IREN, and Mara, we've seen, most of these miners scaling up their hash rate as well. So it's not just CleanSpark that's able to do that. IREN here, incredible growth on mining side, but massive potential on HPC AI as they don't hodl, have great expertise on how to build data centers. So IREN, very unique play where they have money coming in from AI service and Bitcoin mining. However, they're selling all of their Bitcoins that they're mining. Question is that good in the long run, or is in the short term that's helping IREN, right? Because their overall available shares right now, it's less available shares compared to all of the other miners like CleanSpark, Riot, and Mara, who have a lot more shares out there, so more dilution. But IREN, they're selling their Bitcoins, they're using it to scale up their operations. But the question is, in the long run, will that help them out in the future? So that's one thing to think about as we look at that. So one more update before we go into the questions here. So I do think that just with, here I put a posting, CleanSpark might go parabolic today with earnings report. Other miners like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark will follow. Bitcoin to 200,000 in 2025. So what did we see a day later? CleanSpark, along with, some of the miners did perform as well, even though Bitcoin price was going down. But I do think here, Czech Republic president here, he signs into law to remove capital gains if you hold on to Bitcoin after 3 years. So really changing traditional finance to modern financial engineering. And I think all of that's going to be attributed to these miners that we hold on to. All right, so let me go back to the chat here. So, all right, so Bitcoin hash rate all-time high. Yes, indeed. So I think that is also one thing to note as well. Positive upside with the hash rate going up. Here we have David. Hey man, what are your thoughts on IREN for 2025? So just looking at IREN here, just based on technicals, IREN. What happened when we heard about DeepSeek? Oh my gosh, like the companies that are currently involved in HPC AI mining and all that, oh my God, it took a big beat down, right? Like it was like at $13 and then like the next day dropped all the way to $9. I knew of a couple folks that took advantage of buying in after that big discount dip of like 30%. But what happened since then? It's been climbing up. So all of that FUD news, with DeepSeek, all of that, I think that's well behind us. Of course, there may be more fear that will be driven from other news out there, but along with the tariffs as well, I think one thing that is a misconception is like tariffs. Every time when we hear about tariffs, that's when like people get worried. But tariffs is how the United States was built on. You think about George Washington, he leveraged tariffs. Tariffs is a way for the United States to, to gain on, money that the sellers from different countries, it eats into their profit. It's definitely worked for the United States. Of course, global trading, it slows things down, but you know how the United States is. There's a big consumer market. Sellers can't get out of the United States. It's just their profit margins are going to be much smaller, although they still depend on, the United States as a consumer market. So what does this mean? I think that's where we've been seeing a lot of the volatility go on. But IREN, I do think, um, what they were able to achieve, back in December, $15. I could very well see that, that $15 in the near term, whether that's in like two to 3 weeks. But definitely, we're going to see some nice push-ups with IREN as well. Lots of discussions after their earnings, after their production data, but they've actually um, changed their earnings report date, 1 week. So that's going to be on like February 12th, where they're going to announce earnings data. But I do think that they're going to blow things out of the water, similar performance with CleanSpark. So IREN is definitely going to be a runner as well. All right. So next question here. So I hope that answers your question, and thank you for the comment, Jarrett. Jarrett from Manhattan. Hope that answers your question. Let me know if there's any specific questions you have on IREN, and I can definitely cover it. Okay, next question here, Benjamin. You think we'll have a bear cycle with so many states looking to buy and countries? So I'm going to give you an analogy, Benjamin. So most of us are wondering, how high the Bitcoin bull cycle is going to go here. Just in case you haven't seen this here, here's a forecast. We did see, that consolidation of Bitcoin like for months, right? Like, back in March, April, and then come the election results, Trump winning, we saw that run up to 90K. We're just having that normal consolidation. Things can't always just like go catapult like up a roller coaster ride, always going up. It's healthy to see some consolidation here. That bull flag pattern. But I do think that what we're seeing here is, we're going to have that bull cycle continue up to, that 180 to 200K in 2025. Just with this posting here, we haven't really got to having red dots yet. So, once we start getting like a couple red dots, that's when we are at that state of like FOMO. That's where we top out of the Bitcoin bull cycle. That hasn't happened yet. So, just based on historical data, we're expected to have red dots, with overbought technical signals with Bitcoin. But overall, what does that mean? I think we're not in a bear cycle yet. Whether that's going to be late 2025 or 2026 or even later than that. I think as states start adopting Bitcoin, that's actually going to drive up the Bitcoin price. Think about like a swimming pool or a jacuzzi. That's the current price that we have right now, right? At 95,000. So we have splashes of waves of people inside the swimming pool making a lot of tidal waves and all that. But as you start getting more investors from like financial institutions, sovereign wealth funds, billionaires from different countries, that's when you have the force from the ocean start coming into this small pool of only 21 million coins available. And there's only about a 1 million availability of coins. So what is that going to do? That's going to cause a big turbulence inside, causing tidal waves inside the swimming pool. So that's going to result in the Bitcoin price to go up, causing the price to go up. So that is going to make Bitcoin price go up to like 200K. All right. So I hope that answers your question there, Benjamin. So Tyler, thank you for joining. Yep. Um, I'm so glad that I'm able to, celebrate, during my birthday with everyone. Thank you for all the lovely questions here. So I will continue on the questions. So leave questions as I go through more of the updates that I haven't covered here. All right. So next up here, we've heard about MicroStrategy. They changed their branding from MicroStrategy now to Strategy Bitcoin. And will they continue to evolve to become Strategy Bitcoin to Strategy Bank, using Bitcoin as a hedge, spotting their Bitcoins, leasing out their Bitcoins that they own? I think one of the key things with MicroStrategy is the branding that Michael Saylor has created, and kudos to Michael Saylor. I mean, I don't know if you all has checked out his website here, but just MicroStrategy. I mean, you look here, 1 year return 545%. I really like the user face of their website here. So you can take a look here. Bitcoin count 471,000 bitcoins here. You can also look at their new KPIs they created. So Bitcoin yield, Bitcoin gain year to date, Bitcoin gain 2024 here. What their convertible debt is that they've been using here. Um, Very cool website here. But you look here at the performance of MSTR since the Bitcoin standard era here. 2,550%. They've dominated. They've even done better than Bitcoin commodity. But when you compare MSTR to the Mag 7, like Apple, Nvidia, even Nvidia, right? Like they were like the best performer in the AI sector. But MSTR, along with like Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, Google, along with like the good ETFs out there like QQQ and all of that. IBIT is also like one big financial institution, BlackRock. We'll talk more. BlackRock actually purchased 5% of MSTR. So why are they doing that? BlackRock is keeping their enemies close. That's why they've hedged and bought MSTR. They know that MicroStrategy, if you own shares of MicroStrategy, then you basically own Bitcoin. So very cool updates. I really like this website here. Just looking at the charts here, Bitcoin, just increased percentage, dominating the Mag 7 along with the ETFs. There is truly is no second best, I would say. One key thing here to think about, when we think about, how high Bitcoin, how high is it going to go? Of course, we're going to see some volatility, right? But, throughout our lives, we're going to see Bitcoin break through $1 million. We're only at the beginning phase as the swimming pool gets flown in with more waves and turbulence from outside investors. Even Costco is installing Bitcoin ATMs. Costco's share price, it's over $1,000 now. I mean, they're one of the top performers. Costco, everyone goes to Costco. They have, tons of people using gasoline. Eventually, they're going to have like EVs, once that technology improves. But installing, ATMs, that is just a big time mainstream appeal. And I think the moment you see Bitcoin ATMs in Costco, that's when you're going to have a psychological adoption, because when Costco is invested in a product, installing Bitcoin ATMs, that's really going to drive up and push up the prices, benefiting both Bitcoin, MSTR stock, even the miners as well, because we can't talk Bitcoin if we don't talk Bitcoin mining. So I think this could also signal growing corporate confidence in Bitcoin, which could further fuel institutional adoption. This is going to be the future, man. So I hope that helped. Okay, let's go through the comments and questions here. So Daniel, how many shares do you have of CleanSpark? So I'm not like a big time super rich person, but I do have a good amount. So I I have that split among all. But hopefully, all these stocks go up, so we all can gain on positive proceeds. So Tyler Peterson. So who runs further, CleanSpark versus MSTR? So that's a great question. I mean, I can't really answer that, but you know, I'm actually invested in the both, right? And I believe in both plays. There's upsides between one versus the other. Of course, MSTR has big time hodl amount. That's why their stock price is much bigger than CleanSpark, right? Uh, but on the other side, on the bull side of CleanSpark, the stock is significantly undervalued. You're comparing like a $700 billion company versus like a company that's 2.9 billion, size company. So that's a much different, perspective. But you have here Mara's, institutional ownership here. I think as we look around the different markets, Mara's, holdings here, it continues to increase. You have like all the financial institutions hodling up, along with like Riot and CleanSpark as well. But here's my technicals of MSTR here. I do think that you know it's great that you don't buy at this top point of 550. It would have been great if you bought at 280, but now we're beginning to see a cup and handle form here. So similar to what we see with CleanSpark. If you're not following me on X, you can follow me at alliseeisW. I would appreciate it. But here's a posting that I posted not too long ago. CLSK got hammered with a drop of 50% in the last 6 weeks of 2024. However, is up 19% year to date. Strong earnings report will lead to share price appreciation. Bitcoin to 200,000 in 2025. Can see where this is headed. And here is a cup and handle forming here. And I think we're going to start rocketing here. But you look at also, just with MSTR, I definitely do think that we're seeing a rocket like as well. All right, so who runs further? Okay, Tyler, I hope I answered that question. Why doesn't MSTR buy CleanSpark? So I think it really comes down to their business strategy, right? I don't think that MSTR would buy a company like CleanSpark because it doesn't fit their branding, right? I mean, they don't want to have too many stories into their simple strategy of just hodling Bitcoin. So I think that's smart that they don't do that because it just tampers with their branding as a overall strategy Bitcoin. Even though CleanSpark is mining for Bitcoin, but just taking a look here. Okay, so we also have JG Lee here. Thank you for joining. Can you make the candles wider? The chart is not readable. So how do I do that? Maybe if I just kind of like zoom in there, hopefully that'll help. Yeah, thank you, XXXC. I really appreciate it, and thank you all for joining here. This has been very fun here. So, we have about 22 minutes, so definitely leave your questions in the chat. I hope that you have more questions that I can answer here. But let me just continue here. Put your comments, questions, requests in the chat, and then we'll definitely talk more. But I think in terms of MSTR, current price at 327, we did see MSTR up 5%. I think the market really liked the fact that there was, BlackRock owning up 5%. They actually had to report their purchase of MSTR to the SEC and all of that. So I think we're beginning to see this continuous bullish flag pattern pick up. I'm thinking we're going to retest that 550 in Q1 as Bitcoin gets up to 150, 200K, most likely around the 130, 150K come April. We could potentially see 650 onward with the price of MSTR. Yes, Thank you, JG. I appreciate the comment. I really appreciate your continuous support of this channel and giving me ongoing feedback. I mean, part of everything that I do here, it's continuous improvement, and I would not improve if I don't get feedback from you all. So look at just CleanSpark's, beat down price here. So just 2024. One of the things we have to be mindful about is during the last Q4 2023 earnings report, they opened the share price at like $10, and a day later it jumped up $10, and then it ran all the way up from like $6, from like $6 all the way up to $25. But we're at a much different state now. Bitcoin price is much higher. But now, we're flirting around that, double-digit share price, low double-digit share price. But we already saw the power of CleanSpark announcing positive data. I do think that IREN, for example, is going to report positive upside data. Mara, Riot are all going to do the same, and that's really going to drive up the price. So that's one thing I want to just relay. Just based on the last couple of events with earnings report. All of that was attributed to the halving event, the pre-halving, post-halving, as well as 22 being a bearish year. I think we're going to see huge change in the mindset, the perspective, and Alessandro Tech is going to be worried. He's going to cover his short position and start buying back shares as it goes up. I know Alessandro is doing this because he's monitoring, when he needs to cover his position. So it looks like here, thank you, Alessandro, for joining here. Mara will touch 15 this week. After Tuesday, they will confirm dilution. So, we have a big bear here, Alessandro, but I do appreciate, him, giving his contrarian perspective here. So George, okay, so, all right. So next question here. So can we see Mara 30 plus by end of March? I very well can see that happening. Mara, definitely has, it's been beat down so much, but I do think what goes down very fast is going to pop back up very fast. I mean, within, December 24, all the way to like January 25, 4 weeks, just that's like 20 days of trading. It dropped by 50% from that high point. That's huge volatility. But what goes down very fast has potential to short squeeze up very fast. And I think that's where shorts are really going to have to cover their position and really be worried when that does happen. Yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. I love to just spend time here, and that was very helpful. Spike Lee's here, becoming a collab member here as well. So, very cool. Definitely, I'm grateful. Definitely super grateful with all of this. All right, so let's see what are the questions here that we can cover. All right, so Daniel Cano, should I hold CleanSpark past 20 a share? Like, what do you think? Will it really go up to? Thanks for all the videos, Daniel. First off, thank you for your support. In your comments and questions. I think it really depends on your investment strategy and style. I think one of the things is always learn to take profits as well. Don't learn it the hard way, like me. So, if you're up 100%, you could always take profits, and you can always buy back in, right? Or if you have that conviction, I think that CleanSpark could very well go up even more. The big time people who make a lot of money are those who have that investment perspective, and they hold on to it as it continues to go up. But then again, there's also the alternative where people who actually who actually do that short-term targets. Once it gets up 100% sell, they also make money as well. So just know what your strategy is, and also know why you're invested into a company. Don't just follow what people say and all that. Always do your research, find out the why. Really try to drill down on the reason why you're invested in a company, and then just also don't let the emotions kick in as well. That's my advice to you. All right, so Benjamin. Okay, so I hope that helped, Daniel. So Benjamin here, thanks for your question. Just key takeaway here. Just what I see with IREN here. Just from September 2024 low point, that was when a lot of the stocks were beat down. So $6, very similar to the price of Riot around that time. So nothing new there. But what are we seeing here? Just higher lows, right? Yeah, we did see that one drop, but that was DeepSeek related. That was an external variable. But I'm like a big time drop. It's just gonna keep gradually, going up. Like it'll like have those yo-yo effects. But the trend line here is it's going up in the right direction. And IREN does have some facilities in Texas. I wouldn't be surprised if Riot and IREN, they get some big time partnerships from SoftBank, Stargate project. A lot of these big time projects right now, they need real estate with energy capacity approval from Texas, the grid energy. So they can't waste time. They need to just find the right hidden gem locations, pay them out, and then be able to use their facility for the megawattage capacity. So I think that's definitely one thing to keep in mind here. So I hope that gives you a perspective on just the overall like potential. So I hope that answered the question here with all right. So it looks like we have a good amount of people here. So am I lucky, or is it that we just have more people available on Saturday here? But thank you all for joining. This has been very fun. I've been enjoying all of your great comments. Thank you. It's my birthday today, and having fun with all of you to just talk about the different stocks investments here. I do think that Bitcoin has very much room for it to run up, along with these Bitcoin miners and MicroStrategy as well. So, okay, so next question here. So Stephen M. True, what about Hut's 2 billion data center? Is it official partners? So I think with Hut 8, we saw how Hut 8 and BitDeer, they were like the top performers, along with Core Scientific in 2024. I think there was that potential of like having a partnership with Meta. That was like a big deal, right? With Hut 8. I do think that what we're seeing here just recently is just with the recent underperformance with Hut 8 and BitDeer, and all of that I would say is attributed to like their huge, percentage gains in the year 2024. So that's the one thing I would be careful about is when a company stock, like most of the miners did very poorly in the year 2024, but very few were successful, and that was like Core Scientific, Hut 8, BitDeer. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the same results will be portrayed just based on just data that we look at. So there's always seasonality that comes into effect when it comes to just investing in the miners. So seasonality, like when a company stock underperforms in one year, next year they're most likely going to outperform, and vice versa. Okay, so handmade charts. Can you please add Bitcoin to all charts for comparison? Bitcoin seems to drag the miners up and down. So yes, I do think, what we see is like similar to like the Bitcoin price. All of this is, market reaction. Like on Friday, as Bitcoin price went down. I mean, in the beginning of the market, it went from like 95,000 to 100K, and then it ended the market at 95K. Miners followed that. One of the things that we didn't see is that when Bitcoin reached all-time highs in the year 2024, miners really didn't follow like towards the later phase of the year. But I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see an opposite effect where miners are just going to like really blow things out of the water, along with MicroStrategy continuing to do their thing. They're just going to keep dominating. I think that's just going to continue to happen. All right. So Stephen, thank you. Yep, I appreciate it. Your beautiful comments there. Uh, I'm grateful for all of you here. Okay, so I'm going to put a comment in the chat. So I hope that I can get some responses here. So Bitcoin right now hovering, getting close to that 97,000. I think that come tomorrow or even Monday, we're going to see it break that 100K again. It's just been, flirting beyond 100K, up and down, all of that. So we have Spike Lee's as a member. So that's really cool. I'm so grateful of that. So Abdullah, thank you for joining. Why not, right? I think NVIDIA, they're like the best AI company out there. So why not invest in, a solid company? But then keep in mind that, NVIDIA over the course of, the last couple of years, I even, took profits off of NVIDIA as well as one point, you know, um, last year. But they're one of the best companies out there when it comes to their technology, their GPUs, and all of that. I don't think there's any other company that can compare to NVIDIA. I mean, second best would be like AMD. You have like other ASML, other titans out there. But NVIDIA, I mean, most of their revenue comes from all over the world. So even that goes to China as well. Like a quarter of their revenue goes to China, mostly purchased from Taiwan, but then that gets shipped to China. So a lot of Chinese companies depend on Nvidia as well. Price wise, it's been going down, like consolidating, but I do think that it'll just continue going up. Magnificent Seven. But I do think it really depends on what you're looking for, right? Which one has the highest return on investment? Um, we've seen Tesla, go from $200 all the way up to like 480, and now where it's at 300, the mid 300 range. So really just depends on your investment style. But I do think that Nvidia has upside. But I would very much prefer to invest in like AMD, for example, based on technical analysis. 1 year of just bleeding out, I think people are afraid, and that's when you take advantage. All right, so we've been going on for 54 minutes, so we'll go on for another 6 minutes here. So let me know, what are your questions. Hopefully we can go through more updates here. So Stephen True, CLSK right now is my biggest hold question. QS, I believe, will make waves eventually. About may get it together, but I'm starting to doubt. You're welcome, Abdullah. Thank you. Okay, JG Lee, have you used DeepSeek? I use both and don't see OpenAI go away. OpenAI is better at creative writing. So I personally haven't used DeepSeek. I'm afraid of like, DeepSeek using my data, my identity. Just reading the disclaimer, it kind of scares you to even like, play with that application. But one of the things that I found interesting is like Google's. I think Google Gemini is just really cool. Like you know, I'll just type in here, so hopefully you can just see how Google Gemini works. Um, what were the results from CLSK earnings report? So let's see how fast Gemini reports. So you see that? So CleanSpark, so revenue up 120%. Their net income increase, earnings per share 85 cents, up from 14% in the prior year. Bitcoin production over 40 exahash. Fleet efficiency now down to 16.5 joules per terahash. Bitcoin treasury over 10,500 coins, all self-mined in the U.S. Strengthened with 2.8 billion in total assets, including 276 million in cash, 921 million in Bitcoin. CleanSpark exceeded expectations in both revenue and earnings per share. So really cool. Yeah, I mean Gemini. I mean Google, right? I mean I would trust an American application more just because we use Google so much. I very much use Google, so like just YouTube and all that. So I trust Gemini more. But they even also have like try Gemini Advanced. You got to pay for that. I'm just using the free one. So uh, I'm just going to type what were the results from MSTR earnings report. So here, let's just see. See, so really cool how they were able to, just Gemini just did that within a matter of seconds here. Rebranding the strategy, earnings per share, reported a loss per share because they didn't really use FASB updates as well. I think Q1 is going to be much better. We'll see fireworks happening here. Their HODL count 471,000. There's no other company that even comes close to that number here besides like a financial institution like BlackRock. They're rebranding here, becoming a Bitcoin centric company. Very cool. So I like Gemini. I mean, I've used ChatGPT as well, but this is a really cool interface here. Yep. So handmade hearts. When I add the charts together, I see the miners usually travel with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an advanced indication of where the miners will go. Early warning system. Definitely, I think shorters or like even bull investors, depending on the the movement of Bitcoin, how the price behaves. I think a lot of people, make investments based on the movement of Bitcoin throughout the day. So, David, do you have Wolf shares as well? So currently, I don't. So I don't have shares of Wolf. So Spike Lee's unfiltered. So good one for fiat. It's a mix. I have MSTR, Mara, Riot, Tilray. Yes, I used to, look at Tilray a lot, like during the COVID time. So that's interesting. For crypto, it's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, tokens, XCN. Wow. So you have really good investment plays here. So thank you for sharing, Spike Lee's. Very cool there. All right. So it looks like we're getting close to that hour here. But first off, thank you all for joining. I see a lot of familiar faces here. You see, just great people here, just providing, just great wishes. You know, um, and again, thank you for everyone joining, and Spike Lee's becoming, a collab member here, joining the channel. You know, I'm grateful for that, and I appreciate everyone's, questions, comments, and all of that. So, um, hopefully we can do this again, and I'll take another question. So one last question. So, yep, thank you, David. Uh, you know, I'm not an expert, okay? I definitely just do it because I have the passion for it. So it's good to hang out together for a bit. Oh yes, definitely. Would love to, um, as we continue to just, grow together, share ideas together. Hopefully, one day we can even meet as well. But thank you all. I'm grateful for all of your comments. Um, with that, I'm gonna take off now. We're right at that 1 hour. So, Robbie Rose, thank you for joining. Last comment here that I see from Robbie. While we're at that 1 hour mark, thank you, JG. I appreciate it. Lots of adoption in the sector. Stay the course. But most of you all here. I mean, if you want to, learn from an expert, Robbie Rose. This guy is impressive. He has like a very, laser sharp focus on strategy. Like for example, how he took advantage on Friday, dispersing the profits from the gains of that day, moving it around. Even with DeepSeek, he bought up, like IREN, for example. So, he has a lot. So I would, definitely, get some, perspective from Robbie and others as well. Spike Lee's. But with that, I'm gonna take off now. So I'm gonna have some dinner right now. But thank you all. I appreciate all the birthday wishes. So take care, guys. All right, bye, guys.